So let's start with the first chapter in history, the Age of Industrialization, page number 103. Got the chapter?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
yes, I want you people also to speak up. You people are most of the time quiet, silent. So I don't get any interaction which I want. So I want more interaction from you all. Okay. So first chapter, Age of Industrialization. The second that we'll be doing is print culture. You can mark that print culture. The third would be nationalism in Europe, and fourth, nationalism in India. So that will be your history syllabus for this year.
Can you please repeat once again?
First, Age of Industrialization. All right. Second, print culture. Print culture and the modern world. That is the full name of the chapter. Print culture and the modern world. Third, the rise of nationalism in Europe. The rise of nationalism in Europe. And the fourth would be nationalism in India.
I'm
Okay.
only 4 chapters.
Yes, for history you'll have four. That is what I was saying. No need for syllabus four.
Only for
Only four in
16
history.
chapters total. Total 16 chapters in
Doesn't
social
matter.
science.
It is still less. Okay.
Ma'am, less? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, it is too much.
Okay, Dhruv, let's proceed with the chapter.
Ma'am, we have to prepare for many books.
Alright, let's start. Age of Industrialization. What do you understand by the term industrialization? Class 10th. Don't tell me you don't know what industrialization is all about.
That's
Yes, come on.
when the industries began to emerge and new industries came up.
Alright, so when the industries they emerged. Alright. Yes, anything else? Industrialization. The period where or industrial revolution. So what was that period? What did you have in that period? Obviously so many
Ma'am, new
industries.
industries were growing
Yes, industries were
and ma'am,
growing. Yes, they were
increasing in
growing
numbers.
fast. Yes, fast pace. Many industries came up. Then,
Ma'am, cotton industry.
okay, there was technological development, right? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Technological development
Yes.
was there. What else?
Ma'am, economical
And
development.
Okay,
development.
economical development.
And social development.
Obviously, we can connect it. So, if there will be development of the country, economic development, financial development, then obviously society also will develop.
Ma'am,
All right. So, uh, you know, we think that industrialization, we connect it with more technology coming up, and so technological change, innovations, then machines and factories, they came up. Then we had the establishment of railways and all that. And so what we feel is that industrialization was a time when there was a technological process and there was development. Uh, all the place means all over, it was all development. So let's start the chapter and see what it really was about, what the age of industrialization was about, whether it was all good, whether it was all development, how it affected the life of the workers. And so all that we'll see during the course of this chapter. Age of Industrialization, page 1, means page 1 of this particular chapter. Now if you see, there's a front page of a book given here, Dawn of the Century Okay, now this was published by E.T. Paul, and so in 1900, a popular music publisher whose name was E.T. Paul, he published a music book. So this was a music book, and it had a picture on the cover page, so you can see this picture, and it announced the dawn of the century. Dawn, what is dawn? Dawn of the century, not DON, DAWN. Yes, class 10th.
Ma'am, rise. Ma'am, rise
Yes,
of the century.
yes, right. You know, dawn, the sun rises, so rise of the new century. And as you can see from this illustration, this particular picture here, and in the center, you can see a female figure, a goddess like figure here, and now she is represented as the angel, angel of progress, because she has wings also, so she is symbolized as the angel of progress, and she also has in her hand the flag of the new century, and she is seen to be gently, see her leg, it is gently perched, resting on a wheel, and this wheel had wings. And so, this wheel which has wings, it is symbolizing time. So, she is gently standing, all right, resting on a wheel with wings, which symbolizes time. And so this wheel is taking her places, and so her flight is taking her to the future, to a new century, and all around her we can see floating behind her the signs of progress like railways, camera, machines, printing press, and factory. Now, so what we see in this picture is the glorification of industrialization. Now, this glorification of industrialization of machines and factories and technology, now it is even much more marked in a picture which appeared on the pages of a trade magazine. This was a music book, so there was one more picture which appeared on the pages of a trade magazine, and this was over 100 years ago, and it shows two magicians. You know who's a magician?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so this particular book, it shows two magicians, and if you turn the page you will see it. The one at the top is Aladdin, all right, and he is from the Orient. Now what does the term Orient means? Now it basically means the countries who lie at the east of the Mediterranean, means usually it refers to Asia and all. And so Aladdin, he is shown from the Orient or from the east, and he builds a beautiful palace. Aladdin had a magic lamp, so he built a beautiful palace with the help of his magic lamp. And the one at the bottom, now he is shown to be as a modern mechanic, and he has his modern tools with him, and he also weaves a new magic. Just like Aladdin, he built with his magic lamp this huge and palatial palace. So this modern mechanic, he also makes new things with his modern tools, and so he builds bridges and ships and towers and high-rise buildings. And so here in this particular picture, Aladdin is shown as representing the east and what is past, and the mechanic, he stands for the west, and he stands for a new century, or he stands for modernity here. Now these images, when we look at these two images and many more images like this, they give us a triumphant or a winning account of this new modern world, this new industrial world. And this new modern world is normally associated with very fast technological changes and innovations, and rise of machines and factories and railways and steamships coming up. And so normally, when we talk about industrialization, so history of industrialization, it simply to us, it occurs as a story of development all around. And the modern age, it appears to be a wonderful, a glorious time of technological progress. And these images and these associations, they also have become a part of popular imagination. Means that is how people also look at industrialization. That is how people conceive, normal people, average people also conceive industrialization. And they're asking us a question that, do you not see rapid industrialization as a time of progress and modernity? Means what about us? Do we see rapid industrialization as a time of progress and modernity or not? And then they're asking more questions that that do us not think that the spread of railways and factories and the construction of those high rise buildings and bridges, it was a sign of the development of the society. Now one more question, that how like when we talk about industrialization, we talk about these things only. So how have these images developed? Like whenever we talk about industrialization, why we only think and consider these things, and how do we relate to these ideas? Now, is industrialization, or was industrialization always, or is industrialization always based on very fast technological development? And means as of today, can we go on to continuously glorify mechanization of all kind of work? Should we continue to do that, or what has industrialization in reality meant to people, and what changes has it brought to the people's life? Now, to answer all these questions, we need to turn to the history of industrialization. And in this chapter, we will first look at the history by focusing first we'll have a look at Britain, which was the first nation to become an industrial nation. And then we will look at India, where industrial change, whatever changes were brought about in our country, were under the colonial rule. So it was conditioned by colonial rule. So we will have a look at both Britain and India during the course of this chapter. Okay, have you understood till here? Any confusion?
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right. So let's continue. Before the Industrial Revolution, we will only do a little bit more, and that's it. Now, like I was telling you about that very often we associate industrialization with the growth of only factory. Means when we talk about industries, we talk about factories and we talk about mills. And when we are talking about industrial production, so we normally mean to that those things which are produced or made in a factory. And when we are talking about industrial workers, so normally we refer to people, workers who work in factories, or factory workers. And now, history of industrialization, they normally begin with the setting up of the first industries or the first factories. But this is not a correct way to think, because there's a problem with these ideas. Now, why there's a problem with these ideas? Why, when the history of industrialization, they start with the first, with the setting up of the first factories? What is wrong with this idea? Now, the thing that is wrong is that even before factories, they began to come up in England and in Europe, already there was a large scale industrial production already going on for an international market. Means it was not that after the factories came up, that people, they're starting to produce for an international market. Means even before the factory, the first factory came up in Europe and England, even before, there was already a large scale production for an international market already going on. But this production, it was not based on factories. And many historians, they now refer to this period as proto-industrialization. Proto-industrialization, proto means the first or the early form of something. Now, let's see a little bit about this. Now, what happened in the 17th and the 18th centuries? Merchants, people who wanted to set up their industries, who wanted to produce cotton, we are taking that example. So merchants from the towns in Europe, they started to go to countryside, means to the village areas, and there they gave money to the peasants, means to the farmers and the artisans, means people those who do skill work with their hand. So they started to provide money to the peasants and artisans, and they persuaded them, asked them to work for an international market. Now at now this was the time when the world trade it expanded, and these superpowers in the world, they acquired so many colonies in the world, and so the demand of goods it went up. But merchants now, they could not expand production within cities. Now even people with money, if they wanted to produce more, now they could not do so in cities and towns. Why? Because in the cities and towns there were already urban crafts and trade guilds. Now what were guilds? Guilds were basically associations, all right. And now these were associations of producers, and they trained people, they maintained control over production, they even regulated the prices and the competition among the other people, and they also did not allow new people to come into the trade. And that is why they could not set up their work or their business in the cities, and that is why they had to go to the countryside. And many times the rulers, they also granted these guilds monopoly. Anyone here knows the meaning of monopoly? Monopoly, right? Class 10th, anyone here?
No, ma'am.
All right, means what it's basically means that only these guilds had the right to produce a certain thing, and no one else can produce it. Like we have so many brands of toothpaste all around us. Now monopoly right would be that if only Colgate got the right to produce and sell toothpaste. Now what that means is that only they have special rights, specific rights to produce toothpaste and to sell it, and no other brand or company could. So only Colgate would be making toothpaste and no one else could. So here rulers granted these different guilds the monopoly rights to produce and to trade in specific products. So like a guild, they will get monopoly right to produce cotton cloth. So they will produce cotton cloth, and no one else could produce the cotton cloth. And so rulers granted them monopoly, and so therefore it was difficult for the new merchants to set up their businesses in towns, and so they turned to the countryside. Okay, so for today we will stop here. Were you able to understand till here?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Prabhat?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right. So we will
yes,
continue
ma'am.
when we meet tomorrow.